issue or anything, so it's probably just something with the tenants. Sometimes it happens. So, okay, well, I apologize for that. Hopefully we won't have that issue in moving forward. So we're going to go on now, and we're going to talk about scheduling. So the scheduling, I think it's pretty user-friendly. I kind of think the system overall is pretty user-friendly, but again, I'll let you guys tell me that once we're done kind of working through all the exercises. I'll kind of poll the audience and see what you all think if you kind of feel the same. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about scheduling now, and in this section we're going to begin by talking about the schedule patterns. So there's basically some tools that we're going to be able to use. Let me just start by saying that. Remember, the schedule is the plan for when we expect people to work. There's some tools that we're going to be able to leverage that really kind of streamline our scheduling. And one of those is going to be schedule patterns. So I kind of look at it this way. You know, you're going to have employees that have predictable, repeatable schedules. We can kind of use a schedule pattern or what we might also have pattern templates, and kind of be able to set it and forget it. It doesn't mean we're not going to have changes here and there on the fly that we need to make, but, you know, if the person's baseline schedule is pretty much the same, you know, maybe week 1 they work 7, like the example here, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then week 2 they work 3 p.m. to 11, repeats again. You know, so that's the 2-week pattern that repeats over and over and over and over again. So for that, we have schedule patterns where we can save this as a template, and that way, as a system administrator, you can create this tool and give to plug those templates in to build the employee schedules. Again, the idea is to streamline it, so we don't have to always sit there and kind of stick build the schedule. Now, if you have employees that have really fluid schedules that are all over the place, they change all the time, you may not have a choice but to you know, what I call stick build their schedule, you know, manually building their schedule as you learn what it's going to be. So in that case, we also have shift templates that we can use to kind of plug in the schedules as well. So I'm going to start by, I'm going to go ahead and actually, so I talked a little bit about the pattern. We have the ability to edit shifts, add shifts, delete shifts. So even if you use patterns or pattern templates, you have the ability to kind of make changes to the schedules on the fly as needed. We have the ability to add pay codes. Now, if you have employees that are using self-service, which some of you indicated that you would be allowing them to do that, they would request time off through the system. You would get the notification, like we saw in the control center there. There was a time off request by one of the employees that we were able to respond to. When you respond to that, I think actually you'll do that in this section, I believe. When you respond, or let's say approve an employee's time off request for, let's say, vacation, it'll add that pay code to the employee's schedule and then in turn add it to their time card. Okay. Now, the only time you really have to put any kind of pay codes on the schedule is if it's something outside of that time off request that, you know, people will do. Let's say, you know, I called in and I've, oh, gosh, I don't even want to say the words. I don't jinx myself, but let's say I get summoned to jury duty. I've said it out loud now. Let's say that happens, you know, and I call it. That's not something I'm going to go put in through the time off request. Maybe I should have just said training. That would have been better, right? If you're going to schedule me for some training or something, you might schedule that training pay code on those days so I don't get scheduled to work a different shift. And then that pay code will then go to my time card, and there you go. You get kind of 2 for 1. You don't have to put it on the schedule, then put it on the time card. So we have the ability to do the pay codes, schedule those. We also have the ability to do transfers, schedule transfers. This is kind of one of those things that can go either way. And pay codes really are as well. If we know about it in advance, we can plan for it and we can put it in the schedule. But if for some reason, you know, we didn't plan for it in the schedule, we can put it in the time card. Again, if we know about it in advance, great, let's plan for it. But transfers are also one of those things that can be really fluid and different all the time. So they may say, hey, you know, we want the employees to capture those transfers at the clock, or we want to put the transfers in the schedule. But if we don't know about it in advance, something happens on the fly, we can put it in their time card too. So you're not just limited. I'm not suggesting that you have to, you know, schedule all the transfers. It's a possibility. depends on your business processes and what your preference is. But transfers can happen at the business structure, cost center, or work rule or labor category. So, basically where the time is being allocated. Now, when it comes to the work rule piece, though, I'll say that for work rules, if you're not familiar with that term, the easiest way to describe a work rule is it determines how a shift is interpreted. So, excuse me, there's lots of different ways that can be used. Like, for example, I've seen some organizations that'll have a button at the clock that says call in or call back, or they might have a button at the clock that says in service, or they might have a button at the clock that says training. Lots of different buttons at the clock that allow people when they punch in to dictate what they're going to be doing, or maybe in charge, a healthcare, a nurse. I'm not in charge all the time, but when I am, I need to have my time coded that way, if you will. So basically, it's going to tell the system that, hey, this is an exception to how their time is normally interpreted, and allow that to be automated via a work rule transfer. Again, in the schedule, if we know about it in advance, we can plan for it. Otherwise, lots of people, these different types of transfers happen on the fly, and we can account for them in the time card as they happen. Or managers can account for those in the time card after they've happened. Okay. So again, we'll see an example of the transferring. Time off request, again, if you're using self-service, I'm going to go through the slides a little quick because I'm going to demonstrate this stuff in the system. But the time off request, again, if you're using self-service and you allow the employees to request time off that way, you'll get the notification. We saw that in the control center, and the manager can approve or refuse that there. But it's definitely a scheduling event because they're requesting time off at a time when they're, expected to work. We'll also take a look at some reports. Here's an example of scheduling a report. It's a location schedules weekly report, so we'll take a peek at some reports too. A little bit different navigation on how we access reports. We saw those that kind of said the data view library and reports, so we'll get to those from the home menu. Or from the main menu, sorry, not the home menu. So I'm going to go ahead now and share my desktop, and let's walk through some of these tasks. All right. So again, we can get to scheduling one of two ways. If you have a Manage Schedule tile, as I do, we could click that Full Schedule button at the bottom, or I can go over here to the main menu, go to the Schedule section, and choose Current Schedule. And so basically, two ways to accomplish the same thing, or get to the same place, basically. All right, so for starters, the first thing I want to tell you about is in the upper right-hand side how we have the context. What time period, what group of employees are being displayed. You have the opportunity to set a different schedule period if you're scheduling into the future. You have the opportunity to select a particular location or something in the business structure to kind of say, what group of employees do I want to see and work with schedules, okay? So we can see right here there's a list of folks that have schedules. So we've got like Eliza Adams, Gail, Gary, George, and we get into our pal Greg. Greg doesn't have a schedule, and that's okay. So just a little bit about looking at the screen here, and you'll notice that at the top there it tells you the time period. So we're seeing the date range, the 21st of April through the 27th of April. And then you'll also see on the current date, there is a red square next to the date and a red line that goes down that tells us kind of basically where are we at currently. What's today's date and what's the current, where are we from a schedule perspective. So kind of smack dab in the middle of some of those shifts, all right? Now in the upper left-hand corner, it says Quick Actions. If I click on the Quick Actions, it's going to slide open a menu. I love Quick Actions. I tell you, I love the Quick Actions. And it's because it is just that. It is a way to be able to quickly perform tasks in the schedule, common tasks. Now, I'm not going to touch on every one of the buttons in the Quick Actions because we are focusing on the basic scheduling entitlement. There's a scheduling and advanced scheduling, and there are some of those features you'll see here. So I'm not talking about them on purpose because they're not part of the objectives for this class, because not every customer uses the scheduling and advanced scheduling entitlement. Most will just, many will use the basic scheduling entitlement that comes with Timekeeper. Okay, so there are other classes where you can learn about those advanced features like open shifts, shift swaps, availability, what's another one I'm thinking of, rule violations and things like that. Okay, so and we also have, so I'm going to keep it simple. Uh-oh, am I missing some, okay. Oh, yeah, well, really anything is really considered an entitlement, like timekeeping and basic schedules, and then we have scheduling, and then we have advanced scheduling. Absence management would be considered an entitlement. Any additional modules would be considered an entitlement. But yes, in dimensions, that's how they're classified as, scheduling and advanced scheduling. There is really kind of a separation. So, Siva, are you going to be taking making solution decisions scheduling? Do you have any plans to take that? Okay. So in that class, there is in that class, there's a breakdown of the, kind of a look at the basic scheduling, and it takes you through those 3 different scheduling pieces, the 3 different scheduling entitlements, and so, kind of breaks it down for you what comes in each, because, again, not everybody needs everything, so it's kind of separated out into those 3 different categories, if you will. There's a series of classes. You'll want to talk to your project manager. Again, I teach a couple. I don't teach them all, so I can't tell you what every class is, but that particular one is called Making Solution Decisions for Scheduling. So it's sometimes referred to as MSD scheduling. Okay. Oh, good. Good, good. All right. So, yeah, I will just say if anyone does have any questions, that's a good point. If anyone has any questions about the classes, I would definitely, reach out to your project manager and make sure that you're aware of what those classes are. There's a variety of classes. We have Knowledge Map, Knowledge Map Live. Knowledge Map Live is where we are today, what brings you into this class with your live instructor-led training. And there's a variety of different types of training. Some of them are demonstration only, like the MSD series of classes, Making Solution Decisions, kind of gives you introductory looks and concepts about different topics that help you prepare for your solution development workshops. So just an FYI for that, okay? All right. So I just posted that there in the chat for you. Perfect. Okay. All right. So, oh, you're welcome. All right, so looking at the schedule again, the quick action. So I just want to, again, kind of talk about a few of these things. So if you have, I'm going to take two approaches. I'm going to talk a little bit about the, if you have that predefined set schedules, and I said we can leverage the patterns, I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to segue into the quick actions. So I'm going to start with, and again, I would ask that you follow the exercises. Don't do those just yet. Let me kind of take you through some of this, and then I'll give you some time to do the scheduling exercises, and I'll do the same thing for timekeeping. I'll talk through some things, demonstrate it, and then give you some practice exercise time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just go to Greg Adams, and I'm going to right-click on Greg's name. And because I right-clicked on his name, I'm going to get a list of, like a pop-up window with some details about Greg as well as some options. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose Schedule Pattern. So again, if they have a predictable, repeatable pattern, we've got two options. One is that we can create our own pattern sort of on the fly. So for example, if I wanted to create a pattern that was like what I saw in the slide deck that I was showing you, okay? So when we do this, and it's a pattern that we're creating on the fly, the text is highlighted in the new pattern field. So I can just type right in there something like, 7A to 3P, and I can even do something like, I could say, let me back up a little bit. And I'm going to say week 1, 7A to 3P, and I might do week 2, 3P to 11:30P, something along those lines. And then I can go down here and I can define that. Now there are shift templates. If I see a shift template that fits my need, I can click that button. I'm not sure that there's a 7 to 3. I'll look on the list. Oh, and there is. So when I click on that, it's kind of like the quick actions. I can choose that shift template and I can click on each day that that shift applies. I've just defined week 1. Now I want to hit the little plus sign at the beginning, insert a new row, and again I'm going to go back up to shift templates, and let me see, do I have a 3 to 11:30? Oh, I have 3 to 11. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, there we go, 3 to 11:30. Click on those days. I've just defined a 2-week pattern. Now I get to say what's the start date, and that's typically going to be the first day of the Sorry, I've been having some serious coughing fits, and I just keep muting so that I'm not doing that to you guys. Sorry. All right, so it's usually the first day of the schedule period. So let's say the schedule period starts on Sunday. So I look at my little calendar over here, and I see, the 21st is Sunday. That's okay. Even though they're not scheduled to work on Sunday, that's all right. Our schedule period starts on Sunday. We're going to put that start date. Then I also have the end date, forever or specify date. Now, if this is what this person's going to work from now until the end of time or until we tell the system otherwise, we're going to go ahead and set it for forever, and then the system will build their schedule forever. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm good with that, and I click Apply. Now, just like any other change, up at the top right, it was spinning there for a minute loading, so it looks like Greg's got a schedule. Perfect. I can go ahead and click Save. Save early, save often. That's my motto with anything that requires any kind of editing. You never know what's going to happen. Technology is cool when it works, and sometimes it reminds us who's in charge. So save early, save often. Now, if I go up and we see week 1, 7, okay, 7 to 3:30, and I go up, change my schedule period to the next schedule period, looking at Greg Adams still. We can see, 3 to 11:30. Awesome. Okay, so, and we can keep going, looking forward, So when we use a schedule pattern, again, we can kind of plug it in. It could be a 1-week, 2-week, 3-week, 4-week, whatever the case may be, whatever fits your needs, and the system will automate that scheduling moving forward. I want to go back up to my current schedule period. Okay, so that's one option. Now I'm going to go down to my friend Kevin Adams, and I'm going to right-click on his name, and I'm going to choose Schedule Pattern again. Only this time, rather than manually building it, I'm going to go up and I'm going to click on Pattern Template, and I'm going to see a list of pattern templates. Again, this is something that gets created by your organization's system administrator. There's no shift templates and pattern templates that are in the system out of the box because we don't know that. We don't know what start and stop times or schedules an organization might need, right? So it's left open for you guys to define that because it's something that can change too. We add shifts, we take away shifts, we have new schedules. Things happen. So I can choose one of these schedules. I'll take that day 3:30. So it's 3 to midnight. Oh, 3:30 to 3:30 to midnight. And so I can see that it plugged that in for me. So I get the same end result, just a different approach. Okay. Actually, my recommendation would be check for pattern templates first. See if there's one there. If you don't see what you need, then you can build the schedule on the fly like we did, the pattern on the fly like we did in the first example. So you get the same benefit of automating the schedule building, okay, but just a little bit different approach, all right? And then I go ahead and click Apply, and I'm going to save. There we go. And now I can go up and look at the next schedule period, just verify, okay, yep, the next one for Kevin is built as well. Fabulous. Awesome. Good stuff. Okay. So that's one way that we can approach building schedules, using schedule patterns and pattern templates. Now, what if we need to make changes to that, like temporary changes? We can make temporary changes. We can make permanent changes. If something needed to change permanently on Kevin's schedule, I could right-click on his name, go to Schedule Pattern, and I could change something there. So, you know what, he's going to part-time. He's no longer working. I'll address that in just a moment. So, again, Siva, you're really going to want to take that MSD scheduling class sooner than later. It's going to answer a lot of your questions about scheduling, but I'll touch on it and show you where that option is. No worries. It all depends on what version of Workforce Central you came from as well, as to what that looked like for you before, but we still have that capability, so it's not gone, but good question or comment. I'll definitely show you where that is. But if let's say Kevin was going to go part-time and he was just giving up his Friday shifts, we could get rid of Friday. I could just, I could go here and, oh, why isn't it letting me do that? Oh, you know what, his is a pattern, so let me go back to Greg. Greg should let me, unless it makes a complete liar of me. And it doesn't want to let me do it. I thought I could. Oh, you know what, am I choosing the wrong option? Yeah, it's not letting me do it. So I guess what we would have to do if it was changing, actually what we'd have to do is we would probably just, it's not letting us edit that here, so we would probably just have to go and add a new pattern and redefine it to be updated with whatever changes needed to apply. So my bad. I thought I could just change it. And I can't. So now if it's a one-time thing, though, let's say I need to delete a shift on one time, I can use these quick actions up here to do a lot of things. So let's say I want to delete a shift. I can go and click on the delete, the little garbage can up there. It attaches that action to my mouse. So if I want to get rid of Friday's shift, I told Greg, hey, we don't need you on Friday. I can get rid of that, and I can hit save. Now, once I save it, though, it does keep that task associated with or engaged with my mouse. So I have to go up there and click again and turn it off. Okay. If I want to go down and find someone, let me find someone who doesn't have a schedule. Barry Allen. My friend Barry doesn't have a schedule. Well, Barry's one of those people that fits into that category where his schedule's all over the place. It's real fluid. It changes all the time. I might go in here and use the insert shift template and say for this week, Barry's going to work 7 to 7:30, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I can click on that shift template. I can choose Tuesday, Wednesday, let's say Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. And let's say, oh, George Appleton's going to work that shift Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It hangs on to that shift template that I've attached to my mouse pointer, so I technically could use that to go all over the place and plug in that shift to anyone that it applies to. And again, I always want to save, but again, it does not turn off that option. I would have to click the button again to turn it off. If you, let's say that, the shift templates or whatever didn't didn't do the trick for you. We could technically go right to like Monday for Eliza there, and I can just double click on that cell. It slides open the add shift window, and I could type right in there. There's an option to use a template up top there, so we could still plug in the shift template and then modify it as needed. But we could say, oh, okay, well, we're going to say starting at 8 a.m. until let's say 12 p. And then I say, okay, well, they're going to work more than that, but they're going to, have a transfer. I could click transfer, and it's going to allow me to say, oh, maybe it could be any of these things or a combination. I can choose a different cost center. I say, okay. And so I could do that. So we've got a lot of opportunities or options for things that we can do and how we can add shifts. So again, shift templates, we can manually add them. And once I click apply, it takes me back to the add shift window, and I have the opportunity to add add more to it if I needed to. If I needed it to be a bigger window of time, I could certainly do that. So there's a little actions menu. It's kind of subtle. It's a down arrow. If I click on that, I can choose to add another segment after that. And so from 12 to 1, they could be back to their home. Or I could say, oh, 12 to 1 is actually a break. And then I can say, okay, now let me add another segment after that. And I could say, okay, they're going to work until 5 p.m. And that might be in their home cost center, so I'm not doing a transfer there. And I can click apply. And I've just defined my own shift. Now, when we have transfers, you're going to see little double arrows there that give a visual cue that that does have a transfer. If we float our mouse pointer over it, it shows us the details of that shift, that there's a transfer on the first segment, then it's a break, and then it's regular after that. And again, we want to save. Now, I don't want to forget about Siva's question about the by employee. So that's the default. In the upper left-hand corner below the main menu, the little house, it says View by Employee. This is where we can transition or change our view to be by schedule group or by employment terms. Okay, but the default is employee. All right, so that's where that is kind of subtle, but it's right there. It's a little drop down right above that Quick Actions menu. Okay, so we've saw a little about adding, deleting. There are other options on the quick actions. We can choose to add comments to shifts. Again, that's depending on your configuration, what comments you have defined, and where they're set up to be utilized. If they're set up to be used with shifts and so forth, we'll determine what comments are there, if any, are available. When it comes to, there's also the copy and paste. So if there's a shift that we manually, so I added that shift on Monday for Eliza. If that's something that's going to be used multiple days, she's going to do that Tuesday and Wednesday, I can click on the copy option, then choose that shift, and then click on the date cells of where I'm pasting that. And again, I'm going to save. So that copy option is great because then I don't have to sit there and keep doing the same thing over and over again. Now the pay code option. Sorry, someone have a question? I started getting a lot of feedback there, but usually that happens if someone enables their mic or takes himself off mute. Any questions? Okay, no worries. I just want to give you the opportunity if someone did have a question. Oh, no worries. No worries. Just want to make sure I don't keep trucking along if someone has a question. Okay, so pay codes. When it comes to pay codes, if it's the quick actions, the purpose for that is to, again, get 2 for 1. Remove the existing shift and replace it with a pay code should you need to do that. Again, if you're using self-service for time off requests for like vacation or sick or personal, paid time off or personal days, depending on what your accruals are that people are going to be able to request, they should follow that process as much as possible. They'll go in, they'll do the request, you'll get notified, and you'll respond. Now, this is talking about other circumstances. So if there's another pay code or something came up where they didn't have the opportunity to ask in advance, extenuating circumstances, the idea is let's take this pay code and let's replace their shift. So we don't have to delete the shift, plug in the pay code. Again, it's accommodating or accomplishing both tasks in one process. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose jury duty duration, and I'm going to say that, Joe Alexander is going to be off tomorrow for jury duty. I can click right on his shift now that I've selected that pay code. It's not working. Come on. It could just be that oh, there we go. See, I'm impatient. It's probably what, the slowdown you guys were talking about earlier. So, and I'm impatient. Click, 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 click. All right. So it eventually worked, and I want to save it. So you can see it replaced the shift, and it plugged in the pay code. Now, I can assure you that that pay code will show up on Joe's time card. Okay? Now, again, once I saved, that action is still enabled, so I have to go up and turn off the pay code again. Now, if it's a pay code that's not replacing a shift, maybe their schedule's not built yet, but I know that someone like Eliza's going to be on vacation or whatever, jury duty on Thursday and Friday, I can't use that quick actions button. It will not work. It's meant to replace an existing shift. If I try to use it, it's going to tell me, select a shift. So Eliza doesn't have anything on Thursday and Friday, but she's going to be out. I'm going to right-click on Thursday. I'm going to choose Add Pay Code. Slides open there, and I can choose, jury. It's not like I'm obsessed with jury duty, but I know I'm not going to run into any accrual issues. If I pick vacation and she doesn't have accruals, then it won't work or may not work. So I just picked jury duty for ease of use for the exercise. All right. And so normally that start time is going to be whatever that person typically starts. So if she normally starts at 8 a.m., I want that to be 8 a.m. And then the number of hours, I might say 8 hours each day. Now, if there was a shift there, you still could use this method. You don't have to use quick actions. We could have right-clicked even if there was a shift there, and we basically would say, we could override shift or a partial shift. There's nothing there for us to override in this case, so that's not necessary. And now I said Thursday and Friday, so repeat for, I'm going to say 2 days. And again, I could choose to add a comment if there was one, if it was applicable. I don't have to, and then I can click Apply. And save. Boom, it plugged it in there. So it could be vacation, it could be personal time, it could be floating holiday, whatever pay codes your organization tracks or might schedule. All right? Now, I talked a little bit about adding a shift, and I incorporated a transfer, but if there's already a shift that needs a transfer, we can always double-click on the shift, and it'll slide it open. And again, this is where we could say, like, we could take one of the existing segments and associate a transfer with that. Okay? So we could, let's say this last segment from 12 to 4, I could change that from regular to a transfer. And I could say, oh, that's going to be a work rule transfer. And I could say, oh, technical services, and hit apply, apply, and save. So we can create brand new shifts with transfers, or we can add shifts. Okay, so let me see, what else? I think that's about it for all the kind of basics around the basic scheduling tasks. I will say, though, I didn't address it earlier, but on the Control Center, I pointed it out. I'm going to go to the Control Center. I just want to point out 2 more things before I have you do the exercises. Again, the employee request, if you didn't address it earlier, it really kind of is a scheduling topic. So, you're taking time off for a scheduled shift. So we have that one selected. We can go up top and click Approve. Quick and easy. Employee request, and now it says 0. We've addressed it. It's been approved, so now it'll go to her schedule and eventually to her time card. So that's all there is to it. Once you approve it, that's it. Your work there is done. She takes the time off. Okay? And then the last thing I mentioned I want to talk about is for reports. So I'm going to go back up to my main menu. We have under the data views and reports, I'm going to click reports. when we initially go there, it kind of looks like, wait a minute, there's no reports available. Well, this is our kind of our report library for reports that have been generated already. If there's nothing that's been generated, then we go up here and we click Run Report. Oh, that slides open the Select Report. And in our training database, we have pretty limited reports here. Oh, hang on one second. Someone's trying to join the class, and I just want to make sure they're on the list, and I don't think. Let me just check my, so Anna, you're still here, so that's not you. Someone trying to log in that's by the name of Anita, and I don't have anyone on my roster with that name, so unless one of you are trying to come in as that person, you can tell me, but. So I haven't explored all the reports yet, and unfortunately in our training environment, it's pretty limited. I have to go and explore and get more familiar with that. I know that I would, you know what, let me do this. Let me take that question down, and Brittany, if I can find it quick enough, I need to log in as a different user, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to finish talking about this, but let me jot down your question. And if I find an answer that accommodates that, I will let everyone know. But it may not be until after we're done today. While you guys are working on your exercises, though, I'll go look and see. So you want to know, because I know that in Workforce Central there was a report where we could search on any pay code, so we'd be able to see vacation and we could set for a date range. So if it was on someone's schedule, it's showing their time card, we would be able to see that. So let me just jot that question down and I'll try and follow up. Sure. It's a great question. Because what if it's not vacation? What if it's something else? What if it's, any other pay code even that you want to see? So I jotted that down. I will see if this database may limit me, but I'll see if I can't find an answer sometime today and let you guys know if I can't find it sooner. Okay? Because unfortunately, when I click on all here, we only have like 4 reports. Kind of unrealistic. I know there's greater reporting capabilities. So we would probably, there could even be a data view, but I just want to find out what the options are, and then I'll let you know for sure. But, for this example, if I just wanted to say, I could look for employee schedule weekly, exceptions. You would see that information in one of these reports. You would see if there's a pay code, but it doesn't let you say, hey, let me find this pay code as easy as what I think you're looking for, and which would make sense to me. But you can, run the report for any of these location, the location schedule weekly, or, let's say if I choose that location schedule weekly and I say, yeah, I click on it, it gives me a description, I hit select. I want to run this report. And then I get to say for when. I might say, oh, I want to do it for, it's going to give me all these different time periods. I might say next schedule period. Actually, it does say, oh, no, it doesn't let us pick the pay code. It says full name or short name, basically how did the pay code show up in the schedule. I didn't think it let us pick that up. All of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, nope. What do we want to see, shift times or shift labels? That depends on if you're using the shift labels when you create them. And then, what do you want to see? And so if I say, I just go ahead and choose run report, it's cooking right now. It's telling us it's in progress. Once it's done, it'll let us know it's complete, and then we can go ahead and view it. Okay. And there we go. But you might think, oh, this doesn't look like I've got too many details here. This is one person. It tells us at the top 1 of 5, so I can just kind of scroll through and see the different folks and their schedules. It does open it on a separate tab, so once I'm done viewing the results, I can close that tab and it takes me back to the report library. And again, I can always hit the home button to go back to my home screen, take me back to where I started when I logged in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you, I'm going to give you a couple minutes here, well, a little bit of time anyway. So we've got quite a few exercises. You're going to be able to, let me see, did I bring that up here? Okay, yeah. Starting on page 31 of your guide, you're going to have a little bit around navigating. So we got exercises. So you're going to have navigating, changing the sort order, assigning a schedule pattern. So you're going to get pretty much everything I just demonstrated. Let me just tell you how many. There's quite a few exercises. So I'm going to give you about 15, 20 minutes for this. 20 might be on the generous side, but I'm going to go with 15. All right, I'm here. If you need more time, let me know, but I'm going to sit here on mute while you guys do these exercises. So it's exercises 6 through 16, okay? So again, go ahead and I'm going to sit here on mute. Give me thumbs up when you guys are done doing these exercises. We have one more module to go through, and that's the timekeeping, so they'll just be after this. There's a few more things I'll demonstrate. You'll have a few more exercises, and that'll be a wrap. So again, put myself on mute. Exercises 6 through 16. So it's pages 31 through 41, so 10 pages there. So again, I'm on mute. You need me, let me know. Thumbs up when you're done with the exercise.